Good morning. I'm Reverend Laura Thompson. I use she, her pronouns, serving as the minister of this beautiful congregation. I'm looking out and I'm saying, oh, okay, this is summer attendance. So, learned something new. What's that? Oh, and yeah, well, we're going to talk about all the holidays in a minute. It's everything today. Anyway, there's a story told about a traveler who asked a village elder, what is the most important building in your town? The traveler expected the elder to point toward the church or the school or maybe the town hall. Instead, the elder gestured toward the homes scattered throughout the village and said, the most important place is wherever someone is caring for another person. This morning, we celebrate one of the most sacred ministries of this congregation, pastoral care. The meals shared during difficult times, cards sent when spirits are low, visits, phone calls, listening ears, songs, and prayers all convey the simple words, you are not alone. In a world that often tells us to be self-sufficient, pastoral care reminds us of a deeper truth. We belong together. So welcome this morning to this space where we open our hearts to one another. It is so good to be together today.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Steve Latner, and I've been a member of UUSM for a little over 13 years. And I have some notes about pastoral care on my phone, which I am terrified will go blank on me, and hopefully it won't. Oh, it just did. Okay. All right, there it is. I was asked to talk a little bit about pastoral care and its importance. And a little over a year after I joined UUSM, I got a case of bacterial meningitis, and that was in 2014. I was up in Sacramento on business at the time, so it wasn't like right in the neighborhood. And I was in a coma for 4 days. I recovered, and through the recovery lost 90 pounds, that's a difficult way to lose weight, believe me, you don't want to do that. While recovering in a skilled nursing facility, I was visited by pastoral care members, and I didn't even really know there was a pastoral care program. Pat Nicholson and Lori Fox, and I hesitate to name names because there's so many names I can name about pastoral care, but those were the two that were went all the way up to Sacramento to visit me, and I appreciated this quite a bit. A couple years later, I became the chairman of the pastoral care program, and the reason it worked is, believe me, was not, there was just so many good people, and there's still so many good people in that program. And it was wonderful to work with other members of this committee. To be able to give back just a little bit of what I received was the high point of my UUSM experience. And after 3 years, I stepped aside as an active member in the pastoral care program. I've worked on other UUSM committees, which has been rewarding, but pastoral care has always been closest to my heart. Beginning a couple years ago, health issues, including a brain seizure and a stroke, made my life situation that I needed help. Sure enough, UUSM Pastoral Care was there to help me. They provided me with rides for doctor appointments, pharmacy pickups, and home visits, and also singing to me. That was nice. And the emotional support of the pastoral care program was so important in my recovery. Thank you so much, these men and women. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I'm Melinda Henning, and I've been a member of this church for 10 years. So I should not have been surprised, but our family's experience of pastoral care was full of surprises. Some of you probably know the story. Roger's brother, Bill, and his wife, Kathy, live semi-remotely in the Santa Cruz Mountains. They have no children, and they have very few close friends. On March the 3rd, the evening of March the 3rd, we got word that Kathy had been taken by emergency and admitted to El Camino Hospital with severe depression. And so, of course, immediately we invited Bill to come and stay with us in Foster City to be closer to the hospital for visiting. What we couldn't know at that time was that Kathy's hospitalization would endure for 7 weeks and was followed by an aftercare program, outpatient program, that is only now just completing. And we didn't know also that Bill would become really terrorized by her severe condition, having horrible nightmares and being significantly confused during the day. He needed constant companionship and reassurance. Every day, Bill and I would drive back and forth to the hospital. I became Kathy's healthcare advocate, interacting with the medical staff and the social worker, reassuring Kathy and interpreting for Bill. And Roger pitched in with all the left brain things, figuring out how their bills would continue to get paid, making sure their cat and their property were taken care of, checking to see if they had advanced care directives on file. They didn't. Doing all the grocery shopping and, of course, all the dishwashing, too. And truly, we were glad we were able to help. But I have to say that after about a month, it did get quite taxing. Especially because something else we couldn't anticipate was that Bill, though he is thin and fit and the sweetest person ever, has a monumental, gargantuan appetite. I'm talking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And at dinner, 3 helpings of everything, lots of carbs. Top it off with a big bowl of chocolate ice cream. One evening, I was putting one of these big meals on the table, and suddenly I thought, I don't know if I have the energy to light the candle and try to hold space for the kind of comforting and hopeful feeling I wanted when we gathered around the table. And right then, a neon sign went up on my head, and it said, "Get help." And I thought, where? And then I thought, pastoral care. And boom, right off the bat, beautiful, substantial, lovingly prepared, interesting meals started showing up at our door. And every time the doorbell would ring, it was another surprise. Bill and I got a big kick out of just pulling back the tinfoil to see what are we going to have for dinner tonight. And we would sit down at the table and we'd light the candle and we'd feel hope. It took away some of the fear. I shouldn't have been surprised, because the love at the center of this community was bubbling up and washing over us. And Bill said, "I can't believe that these people I don't even know are doing this for us." The effect was exponential. And now, 3.5 months later, the whole thing is having a happy outcome. Bill and Kathy are back in their home, and they're doing fine. The medical care that Kathy received at El Camino Hospital was exemplary. But pastoral care brought a healing that no doctor and no medicine can touch. And I should not have been surprised. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Melinda. That's quite a story and very heartwarming for all of us. I'm Allison White. I've been on the Pastoral Care Committee for over 5 years, and I've been a member for over 10 years. I have an AI version of pastoral care, but after that, I probably don't need to tell you. Really, pastoral care, to me, is what this church is all about. When I arrived here 10 years ago, the brass band was playing, Lynn Ewing was the worship associate, and I just felt this incredible warmth from this community. So I was hooked. At UUSM, I think pastoral care is so much more than AI can. I went on to AI and found the definition. I thought, it's a lot more than that. I vividly remember during the pandemic, Roger delivering pandemic pastries. Thank you, Roger. And Diana delivering pandemic posies, which were very much appreciated by those in need. I also remember our fun group. That's spelled F-U-U-N. And we got together for hikes and get-togethers in my backyard because I had a big deck and we could maintain our distance. So that's really, to me, what pastoral care is about, is getting together, reaching out to each other. And it's our commitment to honor the UU principle of upholding the worth and dignity of each individual. Soon I'll be visiting my sister in the East Coast. She has aphasia, which means she has trouble communicating. So I communicate through showing her pictures. And I have found pastoral care to be an incredible support for me as I reach out for that support. So that being said, I urge you, if you are interested, to join pastoral care. It really furthers your commitment, your communication, your friendship with fellow members. So please contact me or any member of pastoral care. I know Laurie's in pastoral care, and Judy back there is wonderfully delivers flowers when least expecting it, or Reverend Laura. So please reach out to us if you would like to join pastoral care. Thank you.
So we've set aside today to talk about our pastoral care ministries because our care for one another is central to this community, as has been shared with us this morning already. But how do you surmise what pastoral care is? And yeah, I could use an AI definition here, but I'm going to go with a quote from spiritual teacher Ram Dass, who says, "We are all just walking each other home." It's a simple sentence, just 7 words, and yet the longer I sit with it, the more wisdom I find there. Because most of us spend a good portion of our lives believing that we're supposed to make the journey alone. Right? We're taught to be independent, taught to be self-sufficient, taught to have answers, to be strong, to keep going. That's the American way. But that's not reality. And this is where pastoral care comes in. At UUSM, pastoral care is one of the ways that we live out our mission, to be a community of open hearts and open minds, working together to transform ourselves and the world. It shows up when we sit with someone who is carrying grief, uncertainty, or fear, and we offer compassionate listening without judgment. It shows up in hospital visits, even all the way to Sacramento. It shows up in phone calls and check-ins. It shows up in beautiful music that we've heard today from our Sacred Song Circle. What a beautiful ministry that is. And of course, pastoral care can also look very practical. See your forms in front of you. Right? It looks like organizing meal trains, like helping with errands or everyday tasks when somebody suddenly becomes overwhelmed, like Melinda so graciously shared with us how that worked out for her today. It shows up in a ride to church, to a medical appointment, or the grocery store. It shows up as assistance, monetary assistance from the Ministerial Discretionary Fund during a time of financial hardship. And it all begins simply with a person saying, I need help, I'm struggling. Or with us noticing that someone needs help and is struggling. And now all of these acts, they may be unseen, they're not in the pulpit, they're not on the cover of the weekly bulletin. They come without fanfare, but every one of them communicates the same message. You matter, your life matters, your joy matters, your struggles matter. This is what pastoral care teaches us. But it also reminds us that receiving care is just as sacred as giving it. Now, of course, receiving help is not always an easy space for us to get to, right? Our dominant culture, again, tells us to be self-sufficient and independent. And when we reject that notion, to focus on relationships and our interdependence instead, we transform not just ourselves, but we are helping to transform our culture. When I worked as a chaplain at the hospital, I ran into patients all the time who were reluctant, as their life condition was maybe changing, to let others help them. Show of hands if anybody here has ever been reluctant to ask for help or let somebody help them. Right. Now, I just want to say that this was especially true of the women. I'm looking at all the ladies here. Because women are culturally conditioned to see themselves as the helpers. That's your job. Society has dictated that to you. So they often don't take well when it's them who needs the help. So I would ask these women how they felt when they were helping others. And they said that they felt purpose. And they said that they felt needed. And they said that they felt like they were the best versions of themselves. How many of you feel that way when you're helping someone? And so this was my response to them when they said that. Great, why don't you give somebody else a chance to feel that way? You might actually be doing them a favor. Right? When we ask for help, give others the opportunity to feel purposeful, to feel needed, to step into being the best versions of themselves. What a gift that is when we ourselves are receiving in grace. You're making space for love to show up, right? We're centered on love, right? If everybody just wants to give love without receiving it, that is a definite supply and demand issue. You just have a surplus of love sitting over here going absolutely nowhere. Got to fix that. And this is the promise of what it means to be a community. Not that life will be free from suffering, it won't. Not that every problem will be solved, it won't. Not that grief will disappear, it won't completely. But that whatever comes, we will face it together. And perhaps one of the most transformative things that a congregation can offer in our time is this care for one another and this learning to accept care. And I want to offer you, I was thinking about this after Garrett read that story about kindness. Be kind. The other side of that is receive kind. And I'm going to just use an example of me failing to do that this morning. I must have gotten 6 or 7 compliments this morning on my pink suit. What followed out of my mouth was ways to sometimes dismiss that or make it less than the compliment that it was. Oh, I didn't think I could wear pink, this much pink. You know, it's too much. I wanted to minimize the compliment, right? How many of you do this? Somebody compliments you. Somebody gives you a gift and you say, oh, you didn't need to do that. We do that all the time. We're practicing minimizing when people are trying to give us a gift, trying to give us some kindness. And so one of the ways you can do that is just to, I got to flip the script now. Now if you come and tell me afterwards, and you may, how radiant I look in this pink suit, this full pink suit, I'm going to say, yeah, I do. Or thank you. It feels so good to feel radiant. Thank you for that gift. It's so meaningful to me that you brought me something. We can practice receiving kindness all the time in little ways every day. And that will help us receive help later when we need help because we've already practiced receiving. Friends, the pastoral care team is such an important part of our ministries. And I want to say this. You are all a part of it in deeply meaningful ways, in the ways that you build relationships here, in the ways that you check in with each other. And so, yes, we have a pastoral care committee. But who the pastoral care team is, it's every single one of you building those relationships and reaching out to one another. There is not a person in this congregation who does not do some little forms of pastoral care to one another. The poet and activist Valerie Cower writes, "The way we make it through is together. Together we celebrate life's milestones. Together we mourn losses. Together we face illness and uncertainty and struggle. Together we sing. Together we grieve. Together we heal. Together we become more fully our best selves." And so may this congregation continue to be a place where no one has to suffer in silence, where no one has to carry their burdens alone, where every person is held in a circle of care. Because in the end, the purpose of community is not simply to gather people in one place. It's to remind one another that we all belong to each other. And that is how we walk each other home. Blessed be, and amen.
Please feel free to join in if you know this song, or it's easy to pick up. So jump in anywhere. You shall indeed go out with joy and
You shall indeed go out with joy and be led forth in peace. You shall indeed go out with joy and be led forth in peace. You shall indeed go out with joy and be led forth in peace. You shall indeed go out with joy.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit, reach out to somebody next to you, or place your hand over your heart. And we shall indeed go out in joy. When life is joyful, may you find companions to celebrate with you. When life is difficult, may you find companions who will stay beside you. May you have the courage to offer care when it is needed, and may you have the grace to receive it when it is offered. May your hands be ready to serve, and your heart be filled with compassion, and your spirit strengthened by the knowledge that you belong to a community of love. Go forth a blessing to others, and allow yourself to be blessed in return. For this is how we build beloved community, and this is how we transform ourselves and the world. Blessed be, and amen.